This is Abnormal Entertainment.
2, 3, 4.
Walked into the tunnel just to find the light. Hunted for old demons, looking for a fight. Looked up at the stars, seemed to go forever. There must be a way, it all fits together. Fell into the quicksand, held on to the vines. Never could quite color, stay within the lines. Feels like I have wings, I can fly wherever. This is just a way, it all fits together. Finally saw the world through rose-colored glasses. Gonna share my journey to small and large masses. Give up on my life, no sir, me never. This is how I put it together. This is how I put it together. This is how I put it together.
Hey everybody, this is Daniel Garza, and welcome to another episode of Put It Together. I'd like to start as usual thanking my producer, Mr. Kevin Moyers, for all his help and support. Thank you, sir. Inviting all of you to check us out at Put It Together Podcast on Facebook. You can also find us on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube, where you can see other information, pictures, and videos of all our guests. Please check out abnormalentertainment.com, where you can find all the shows on the network. Check them out. I'm sure there's a show there for you. If you're into podcasts, you can find dozens of shows for you to listen to. For now, I'm going to start by welcoming my guest, Austin Armstrong. It's such a powerful name.
Thank you.
It's such it's like an astronaut.
I don't know. Daniel Garza is pretty.
Yeah, well, of course, yeah. But you have that, like, you're either a wrestler or like a movie star name, like a superhero.
Well, thank you.
Like the alter ego of a superhero. I am Armstrong.
Don't blow my cover. Don't blow my cover.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. You're a video marketer. First of all, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
And second, what's a video marketer?
Sure. Well, if you reverse it, it's someone who does marketing through video. So I do digital marketing in general, but I really specialize in creating videos to market whatever your specialty or expertise is.
Okay. And how long have you been around that?
I've been doing specifically video marketing for about 5.5 years now.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I just kind of stumbled into the position that I'm in. I started as actually an unpaid intern. They brought me on through one mean or another. We might be able to get to that. It's kind of part of my story. But I really enjoyed it, and I stuck with it. Due to car troubles, I had to kind of quit that internship. A couple months later, they actually reconnected with me to bring me back as a paid intern. And I really enjoyed it. I jumped back on, and about 2 years in as a paid intern, I went full-time. And then about 1.5 years later, I became the lead strategist for business development and video marketing strategy and sales and project manager, and it's turned into a career.
That's awesome. Now, if I remember correctly, I found you on LinkedIn?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And then I realized what you did. And like most people, anybody who's been on my show or anybody that I connected with, everybody knows that I'm a stalker. I'm a social media stalker. So if I find you on LinkedIn, I will look for you on Facebook and on Twitter and on Instagram. I want to see what you're up to, because that's how I find people to interview. And if you're not interested enough, well then, like I have to find, because sometimes people are kind of boring on LinkedIn.
Sure.
But then you go to their Instagram and
I love LinkedIn.
Right?
First of all,
I've connected with so many people.
It's one of my favorites.
Yeah, and it's underutilized. I think people don't realize.
Absolutely.
I've gotten some of the best interviews from there and some really good connections out of it.
I've gotten business right from LinkedIn.
Yeah. Yeah, some of my card readings I've gotten out of there, and some of my speaking engagements have come out of LinkedIn. So
That's amazing.
if you're listening or watching and you have a business and you're not on LinkedIn, do it. You just don't realize what potential it has. But yeah, like I was saying, some people on LinkedIn, you're like, oh, okay, well, your job's kind of like, okay. And then I go to their Instagram and they're like X Games people and they're jumping up hills.
Sure.
Or they rescue puppies from fires or something. And I'm like, I want to interview you. So I found you on LinkedIn, and then I saw you on Facebook, and then I realized that we have some friends in common. So I friended you, and then I kept hounding you to be on my show, but I ended up on your show first.
Yeah.
And
it's funny how things work out.
Yeah. You want to tell them about that? Can we talk about your show?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I don't know if you want to mention Shanti. That's kind of that was the initial starting point.
Right.
Of the mutual connection. We had done some work with the organization that you're affiliated with as well. But we had Daniel as a guest sharing his story on our podcast, Sober Grind. Sober Grind is an addiction recovery podcast that really our mission is to highlight recovery stories, providing the most polarizing guests and intriguing topics about all things recovery. That's kind of our tagline. So we cover a lot of different topics and talk to a lot of amazing people.
I feel like not because it's my story. I just feel like 30 minutes was enough.
No, it's never enough. We could take it 3 hours long. Like I feel like we only scratched the surface. So we're gonna have to have you back on again.
And then you guys are such good hosts. And
thank you. We just have fun. That's all it is. And spread message of hope.
It was just like the conversation was just starting to get heated, and they were like, "It's time to go." I'm like, "No,"
No.
But I haven't even gotten to like the crazy crap I did when I was high and drunk. Wait, but this show is about you. This episode's about you. So, Austin Armstrong, tell us how you put it together.
Thanks, Daniel. So I mean. Let's see how far back we want to go. I mean, I faced adversity pretty much all of my life. My parents got divorced at a very young age. I had an abusive father, mostly towards my sister, which led my sister to a path of addiction. Through living with an addict in your home, severely impacted how I grew up and my developmental path. I remember really specifically a moment senior year, going into senior year. Before that, I looking back, I feel like I was very depressed, suffering from a lot of depression. I definitely did some self-coping, smoked a lot of weed, drank a lot of alcohol, partied a lot, did a lot of that stuff, but there was really a point of realization, and really that you call it that aha moment, that kind of just brain trigger switch, that it's like you can go either one of two ways here. You can go down the same path that you've seen firsthand and experienced firsthand so much pain to both myself and to all of my family, both financially, emotionally, and physically. Or you can be a better person. You can try and share your message and just see the bright side in every situation. And that's how I chose to live my life, that no matter how dark things get, there's always a positive situation. And I've lived by that, and it's just carried me to where I am today.
How old were you when that moment happened?
That aha moment of realization, about 17.
So at 17, at 17 we're just learning how to drive. We make the worst choices in friends sometimes. Mm-hmm. We know and we can smell trouble. Do you think because of what you saw, is that what made you not want to go in that direction? Because you could have gone in that same path.
Yeah.
Other than the aha moment, was there something in your gut, in your heart, in your mind, something that said, Austin, we can't live that way?
I think I saw, I also around 14 and up until that point stumbled into digital marketing.
Okay.
And really it's looking at all of these things has led me to where I am today. It's so interesting looking back, but around 14 to 16, I became sort of an influencer on MySpace.
Okay.
MySpace before what we know as social media today. So I was actually making a lot of money on that platform as a 14-year-old.
Wow.
And that was in the back of my head too, that, hey, I can do something here. You can be bigger than you are.
Right. This is going somewhere. Right? Because, I mean, if you... Come on, MySpace... Because I was all about using the codes and making things pop up. And
putting the music on there.
Yeah.
And
if
the layouts.
If people came to your page and there was videos and music, you were rocking MySpace. Because I was MySpacer too. So... were you able to really understand that social media was going to take off at that point?
I definitely had an inclination. I didn't think that it would be something that I could have an actual career in until much later on. And in fact, I dropped it for several years. Kind of fell back into some depression stuff. But when you're a 14-year-old and you post one status update, and you get a text message, hey, you just made $250. My mind went wild. I was like, oh my goodness, I can buy an apartment. I bought my first car. I bought my TV. I also spent it on a lot of alcohol and a lot of weed. Luckily, it didn't turn into anything harder than that. But to circle back to your initial question, I think that and my experience of going through negative experiences in my life and seeing everyone being beat down, something in me just said, be positive.
I think that's one of the reasons I admire you and I connect with you, even though we're very much different in age. Everything that I've been, and my listeners know most of my story, everything that I've been through in my life, nobody would judge me for sitting down and being angry and bitter about life. But yet, I was like, there's a purpose to all this.
Absolutely.
Now, you have to agree, there are times when we sit back and we go, well, fuck this.
Sure.
Yeah,
Still.
There's a moment, where your bucket gets full.
You can't choose what happens to you, but you're always able to choose your reaction to that situation.
Yeah. And I think that's the beauty of it, that even in those screw you world moments, you can always turn around and go, okay, I got it off my chest.
Yeah.
Now let's try to fix this. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
I was going to go somewhere else with this for a second, but you touched on depression for a little bit, and I want people to understand how you get to that point and how you get out. When did you first realize, hey, this isn't just me being tired or a little blue, I'm depressed?
I think it was more in retrospect. I was always an extremely stubborn person, and I still am. Therapy didn't work for me because I didn't want it to. I was forced to go to therapists when my parents divorced, and in my eyes, I was like, I'm missing hanging out with my friends, and I'm missing Boy Meets World and Dragon Ball Z right now. Literally the exact thought processes. So I would tighten up my ball, and I wouldn't talk to the therapist at all, and I'd waste their time because I thought they were wasting my time. And I didn't get anywhere from that. What really worked for me, and this I don't think will work for everyone, and that's totally fine, is through constant bettering yourself. So I started reading a lot, self-improvement books, watching videos online. I still do this. every time that I'm in my car for almost 3 hours every day, commuting and going to meetings and whatnot. I use that time not to listen to the radio, but to listening to marketing podcasts, personal development podcasts, audiobooks. I read a ton and focus on things that I can do to better myself, and work on things that I was very self-conscious about. I didn't think that I was I didn't think I was good at communicating the information that was in my head. That was a really negative self-talk for a long period of time. That I would think things, but when I said them out loud, it didn't come out just right. So working on bettering myself and just being the best version of myself, and I think continually doing that over and over and over again and forcing myself to see the bright side in every situation had a increasing effect, and really helped me out of those situations. Now, certainly there are moments where I just feel like a blanket is on top of me of like this is an insane situation, like it's still. But that's really what's worked for me, is just trying to force myself to constantly see positive.
A lot of people might be listening and watching and going, bullshit. You can't possibly be. And I've heard that from people when I talk to them. I'm like, well, there's always a silver lining. It just takes a little extra time to find it.
Yeah.
And some people do give me that look like, screw you. Where do you... I don't want to sound redundant on the question, but I think of it as kind of layers, and you can stop me if you don't agree. But there's what's happening to other people that affects us. Then there's that next step where we can either follow their lead and be hard, miserable, unhappy, whatever, or we can choose to be happy regardless of the situation. Mm-hmm. And then there's that moment where life throws something at you that's really hard. For me, the latest thing was cancer, where you're standing there and going, okay, I've got to make a decision right now.
Yeah.
Am I really going to fall prey to this tough moment, or am I going to follow my own words?
Absolutely.
Was there a moment like that for you, where you had to follow your own advice? It doesn't have to be. But
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I know, as I said earlier, I can remember going into senior year. I think, that pressure of high school, everything I had experienced and seen my sister go through and my family go through, it was just a boiling point, and something in me just led me that way. I don't know if there was an exact time in my mind where I said, this is it.
Right. This should happen. Right. I can either be a horrible person or That's good though. I mean, good. Well, my first thought is, well, screw you. But then my second thought is how.
And there's definitely, to go back to the depression thing, I mean, I can't comprehend what other people are going through. I can only state my own experience.
Right.
And in retrospect, I mean, I don't think I had depression or suffer from it that bad.
Okay.
But.
And for people listening, there's different levels.
No, there's absolutely different levels, and I can only comprehend my own experience. I can't comprehend what you or what the next person's going through. Yeah,
because my depression hit, again, me too, going back. Because of my sexuality and my surroundings, as a teenager, there was some level of depression. After cancer, I developed a lot of depression, obviously, for obvious reasons. I mean, your body's affected by drugs and chemicals and surgeries and all kinds of stuff. Anyway, which I can talk about depression a little clearer now, because my therapist, I had an appointment last week, and he was like, I don't think you're depressed anymore. I think you're just an anxious person.
What was it like to hear that?
I was mad.
Really?
Yes, because I'm like, well, that's part of my advocacy work. Like, how dare you take that away from me? But then I thought about it, and I was like, Well, it's good to know that me, my body, my mind, the universe, whatever, God found a way out of it, and I found my way out of the hole. Mm-hmm. And for people listening, we're on two different extremes, mm-hmm. but again, the same kind of path. Like, I'm going to do something to better myself, mm-hmm. to get out of this situation, physical, mental, psychological, whatever situation you're in. And my doctor said, you have been working so hard on not sitting at home and just wallowing in it that you found your way out of being depressed. And I was like, that's possible? Like, that happens? Apparently it does. So again, I'm glad that we got into this topic.
Yeah.
Because people can see two different sides of the conversation. Like, you don't have to go through something harsh to fall into depression. And if you do go through something harsh, you don't have to stay there.
Right.
So that's a pretty... so then what happened? So, because you're still young. Can I ask how old you are?
I just turned 28 on Wednesday.
And screw you again. But congratulations. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're still young. And God bless you, man. You have so much ahead of you.
It's day by day.
So you come back to work at this agency, and where does the show come from?
The show Sober Grind?
Correct.
So I had the company I work for is called Therapy Cable. To give a little a brief overview there, the mission of that company is to help remove stigmas attached to mental health one video at a time. So it was founded by Dr. Asan Garaj-Dagi, a clinical psychologist with a background in addiction treatment and couples and sex therapy. That was really our forte, is working with psychologists and therapists, addiction specialists, to create a lot of videos around their expertise to help people online. Several years into that, he started a separate company called Beginnings Treatment Centers, if I can name drop,
yeah.
But I already did. So
yeah.
Formerly Elite Care Treatment. They switched the branding about a year in. We started as kind of helping with the social media of them, because it started small. As the company began to scale, they eventually brought me on. I'm now full-time there as well as the marketing project manager.
Wow.
So I handle all the digital marketing strategy, handle all the social media, the video, and then all the the website, the email stuff, all that stuff. It was honestly a strategy to create a podcast that's educational and fun.
I'm not sure about that.
And I'm not sure about you, Alexa.
For those of you, Alexa just answered. But there's ghosts in this
okay,
apartment, so randomly she would just answer stuff.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah.
As long as she doesn't order stuff.
Yeah, I hope not. Yeah, or laughs.
Oh yeah, that'd be creepy. But there's a lot of jargon involved and technical terms involved in addiction treatment. All these things that the layman doesn't necessarily know. And that was my vision, is to create a podcast that's helpful and that people can hear stories from people that have have been in the thick of addiction and come out the other side, and advice for parents, and all these different things, and take an addiction specialist, my co-host Pej, who you know and
yes.
you've met, and my background, not as an addiction specialist by any means, but someone who has firsthand experienced addiction my entire life, and get that information out of him and present that in the form of a podcast. So that's where the podcast came.
Now, oddly enough, I've been both on your show and I've been interviewed by the doctor. I think you knew that, right?
Dr. G, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, very early on. Yeah.
It must have been 4 years ago,
Wow.
at least, that I was on his show talking about HIV and addiction through Shanti.
Uh-huh.
They invited me to go there. So when I started seeing your stuff, I was like,
Crazy
I
how
know
paths
him.
align, right?
Yeah, and then
here we are years later.
Pesh, who I also stalked on social media, was here in my apartment before before he started his new job. In fact, I did a reading for him where I was like, "You're going to get this job. Like, don't worry about it. You got it." So yeah, there's this, like, everything was leading to get to meet you for some reason. So there you go.
Small Orange County.
And and people don't realize that really, when you start falling into a certain group, addiction, social media, you start meeting the people and you start connecting. And
it really is a small industry. Working in the addiction treatment industry I've been full-time at Beginnings for 2.5 years now, and somewhat from the outside with Therapy Cable, but it is a small community.
Yeah.
I go to these events and meet so many people, and every time you go to a new event, it's like the same people are there. It's so interesting.
Yeah. So I was definitely excited that we finally got to do this.
Likewise.
So, let's talk about addiction a little bit. Let's talk about the show, because I really want people to know about what you're doing with Sober Grind.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
What have you learned about addiction that you didn't know from your personal story?
The hardest one to accept. I'm not a parent yet, but from the parent's perspective, to continually help the addict becomes enabling. And I saw that, but didn't realize that what you need to do at a certain point is cut them off. And that is, I can't comprehend that because I'm not a parent, and it is the hardest thing in the world I can only imagine to do as a parent. That if you try, you put them in this rehab, you bring them out to California, which is how I ended up out here, and ended up at this company as an internship. We're from the East Coast. My mom brought my sister out here to California to try rehab. She went on all up and down the East Coast. Nothing worked. She's like, okay, let's go out to California. Let's try treatment out in California. You do that over and over and over again. They go to jail. They come out. You pay for rent. You all of these things. You give them support. In the addict's mind, it's like, okay, it doesn't matter how many times that I mess up. I'll always have them there to catch me. Yeah,
it's for me. It's kind of like as an addict, you're on this trapeze, and you're not concerned about falling because there's a net underneath. Mm-hmm. So you never really learn to walk across.
Right.
Or the wire, actually, not the trapeze, the wire. And once they take the net off, you learn to stay on that wire or on the trapeze, whatever. But yeah, that's harsh, but true. And I think it's really difficult to tell family, you gotta let them go. Like the outcome may be harder than you expect, but you gotta let them go. I lost my train of thought.
Yeah, no, it's okay. We're talking about things that I learned from the podcast. It's a really interesting topic. Thinking back, it's amazing to be in that situation and just sit and kind of prompt questions and learn as I do it. I feel very fortunate that I'm in this situation because I can better understand my entire family's situation.
Yeah, and actually, it kind of triggered my memory because I've been clean and sober now over 11 years.
I'm sorry to negatively trigger anything.
No, not you didn't do it. I'm the one asking the questions, and it didn't negatively do it. I was just like, wow, like for 11 years, like my family and friends completely abandoned me, and I had to do it. Either swim or die, kind of sink or swim. Mm-hmm. So no, it's the memories like that keep me going.
Yeah,
that keep me wanting to keep, because I wouldn't be able to do this if I was high. Probably I
just want to compliment you. It's amazing what you did this podcast too.
Thank you.
Spreading your message.
Thank you.
You have an amazing story.
Well,
and I'm so honored to have heard a small portion of it, a very small portion.
Well, we're going to grab tacos after this. I will
Sounds
fill
good.
your ear. I lost where I was going. I know I have so much. Every once in a while, I get to talking to somebody that really catches my attention, and I'm like, oh man, that's pretty cool. And then I forget where I was supposed to go. Let's talk about where you are now.
Okay.
A little more.
Okay.
Where do you think social media is going? And do you think it's really as evil as people make it out to be?
It's so funny you bring that up. I literally just released a video today on social media addiction.
Really? We'll have to post
It's
that
so
on our
funny.
page.
It's so funny you bring that up. I think it evolves into wearable technology. We've already seen that with watches and the glasses, Snapchat glasses, Google Glass. I think the next step is contacts directly into our eyeballs. But I think I don't know if you've used social media or virtual reality for social media.
Not yet.
Okay. I have a headset. Next time you come over to the studio, I'll let you. I have the Oculus Go. I've been following them.
I have them right there.
Oh, you have them. You just haven't used it.
I've used them
oh my
once.
Goodness, just use it.
I got them as a gift, and I just used them once.
So, bet on the big giants. All of the big giants are getting behind both augmented reality and virtual reality. Facebook acquired Oculus for $2 billion.
Wow.
So you know that they're really pushing that. The second version of the Oculus is coming out soon. It's all wireless. But anyway, there's already amazing use of virtual reality technology specifically for Facebook so far. So the Facebook app in the Oculus store is crazy incredible, and there's chat rooms in there. If you go, you message back in the day, AOL chat rooms, but it's your avatars. So it's actually me and you in this room where we are right now, but we're not in this room. I'm in my house, and you're in your apartment, but we're having the same exact conversation. And while it's animated avatars right now, it's incredible how fast that this technology is evolving to capture yourself. So, like Bitmoji, for instance, Snapchat, or all these things that they take a picture. You can do it on your phone too.
Yeah, I have them.
I don't know if you did that to create like the GIF reactions of yourself. You can actually do that. So just think about that. But where it's evolving, I think it's that. It's connectedness in virtual spaces.
Because I see a lot of chats, I see a lot of threads, and now...
and that's a little bit in the distant future. I think right now we're moving more and more towards live streaming. I mean, live streaming is huge right now.
Yeah, and I do live streams every once in a while. So, again, I see people posting and threading that how social media has taken over and we no longer socialize and we're not into conversation.
I think it's just evolved. I don't think it's a negative thing. I think we're evolving. We're connecting in a different way.
Right. Because I tell people, obviously a lot of the work that I do is social media geared. Mm-hmm. Podcasts, the videos, the live streaming. But I tell people, yes, I use social media, but my guests come to me or I go to them and we're having a conversation, a human conversation that's being recorded for other people to see. So
social media has changed our entire world. It really is amazing. It's created entire careers.
Right? I mean, well, again, I'm 30 years older than you? 20 years older than you. God, that just made me feel really old.
But, it's really interesting. I'm really the last generation that can remember a time before social media. I remember not having computers in my house, dial-up internet. Kids that you could choose the phone or the internet, you couldn't have both.
Right.
Remember before smartphones came out. Anyone now are completely born into the world of digital devices and social media. My 5-year-old nephew, he just turned 5 at the beginning of October, knows how to use an iPad more than my mom does.
Yeah.
He's 5.
Yeah, I've seen that with kids. My nephew's son, my great nephew, he's about 6 years old, and he borrowed my phone and downloaded stuff and moved stuff around. I'm like, how does he know how to do that? Like, at 6 years old, I was still putting dirt in my mouth. Like, you know,
it's amazing. It's have you heard of the I'm paraphrasing here and I'm going to butcher this, but the 100th monkey effect?
No.
It's a phenomenon in nature that it's something like when a new habit is developed, by the time the 100th monkey is born, it's already ingrained in its brain that it's habitual and it's part of its ability to do something. So now that we're getting into more and more social media use, it's easier to understand and comprehend this technology as a child today than in several generations later.
That's crazy. But I guess I grew up, my sister in Mexico had a black and white bulb TV. Mm-hmm. So the bulbs had to warm up for the TV to play. Uh-huh. And you had to turn it on 30 minutes before the show started.
30 minutes before.
So that the bulbs would be warm enough to show the TV. We had rotary phones. This is in Mexico. And then I remember the first time we got the banana phone with the push buttons and bloop, bloop, bloop. And there was, in my house, we had 2. And we're like, oh my God, we're fancy. But yeah, now kids never... I've watched videos of kids using a rotary phone, and they have
don't know what to do.
No clue. Yeah,
you see those funny videos online. Even you hand them a Game Boy, they're trying to touch the screen.
Yeah. Well, I'm so. I'll admit it. Christian, my partner, has made me really bougie. I was at a presentation at Santa Ana Community College, and we were setting up my presentation, my PowerPoint, and I'm pushing on the screen, and finally one of the students goes, "Oh, that's an old computer. It's never going to work that way." And I was like, "Oh," because I had just gotten off my laptop, which is touch,
mm-hmm.
and I'm like, la 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 la, and then I go to their computer, and I'm like, "Why isn't that working? Oh my God, this is so old." What is your dream for the future?
For myself or for the world?
Yeah, for you. Where do you want to go?
I just want to continue on this path. I think, to tie it back to something earlier, what keeps me going and what motivates me is I set goals for myself on a yearly basis, and then slightly long-term goals as well. So one of my I've been doing this for about 4 years, and this is both financial and where I want to be at, skill and knowledge-wise, and about myself as well. But I want to be a public speaker. I want to do more than that, more of that, rather. I've done a little bit of that and hosted some workshops and stuff like that. I really enjoy that. I really enjoy doing things like this. I think I think people don't share their stories enough, and that comes from my career now, my work life, of being able to share your experiences through digital content. So I want to be able to both do that in person, as well as continue to share myself, my experiences, and help other people share their stories and their experiences through content. So continue doing exactly what I'm doing and just getting better at it.
What messages do you want to share?
That there is always a bright side to every situation. There's always hope. And that even if you're in a really, really dark, terrible place, that you can get yourself out of there by putting it together.
There you go. See, funny enough, almost every episode, that line comes up somehow. Yeah. So, and I promise everybody, I do not coach them to do that.
No, I tried to work it in.
It just kind of happens. Are you hard on yourself?
Yeah. Yes.
How do you, or do you, let it go?
I'm a chronic procrastinator.
Okay.
And that is something that constantly eats me up because I want to be better. I want to be better. I want to be better, and I know I can be better, but I just put things off and I procrastinate. So I've really tried to study a lot of techniques to overcome procrastination as well. Tying back, listening to audiobooks and podcasts and all these different things. But the biggest thing that I've learned in that respect is to just get started. So when I'm beating myself up over something that I feel that I could be doing better or having a better mindset, I just start. Just start doing it. Just start being a little better.
I've been wanting to figure out ways to procrastinate, but I keep putting it off. See what I did there? But there is a study that says procrastinators are actually just geniuses in disguise because we can.
I support that.
We can pull it out because I'm a procrastinator, and I can.
Yeah.
In the 11th hour, I will pull something.
Yeah.
And be like, oh my God, that was awesome. Or I'll show up to an event and I have no speech prepared, and I'll be like,
it's good to think on the fly like that.
Yeah, I'll carry papers with me to the podium, and then pretend like I'm reading, but I'm just pulling crap out. And it's like people are like, oh my God, that was so good. I'm like, it took me a week to write that. Like, I have all these questions, and I like you've already answered some of it in the conversation. I'm like, okay, that's the wrong question.
We can touch on anything you want. I'm having fun.
Thank
I
you.
like talking with you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I always, that's my insecurity. And maybe that's a question for you. My insecurity is always like, people just do this because I hound them to do it. Like I stalk them to do it. Do you have insecurities in your life, and how do you overcome them?
That was a good segue there. Yeah, I think one of my biggest insecurities that I was, and I'm still dealing with long term, is that I did terrible in high school for a lot of different reasons. I was one of the lowest in my class. I'm back in college now,
Cool.
doing pretty good, I guess. But I tried to go to college after high school twice. Failed out both times. And I've always kind of been told that I was dumb based on performance, academic-wise. So that's one of the biggest insecurities that I've have is lack of academic
Credentials, yeah.
Credentials, right. But I think there's a great quote from Einstein that, to paraphrase, is if you judge a fish on its ability to climb a tree, it's going to live its entire life thinking it's a fool. There are multiple forms of intelligence, and while now I'm trying to go back and get my bachelor's degree, because I know and I recognize that it's important. School has never, in my eyes, been interesting or something that I've wanted to do, because I've had all these negative experiences about feeling like I was dumb because, blah, 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 blah. But I love learning about what I'm interested in. So and I'm obsessed. Like, right now I'm obsessed with mastering YouTube. I just finished a book on it. I go to workshops. I go to all these events, networking events. I listen to podcasts and all these different things. I'm A/B testing. I'm studying. And if I had that mentality towards school, I'd be an A student.
But I will say this, because I was going to be an alcohol and drug counselor.
Okay.
While I was doing drugs and alcohol. I called it research. But
sure.
that was my way. I didn't make it because I ended up just choosing to just do more research.
Yeah.
And I've had the same obsession about wanting to go back and at least getting my bachelor's in counseling, or changing my major and going for something else. And
Yeah.
and I'll tell you this as somebody older, for a long time I did have that. I would go to conferences or events and everybody's a PhD or everybody has some initials after it. And one day I'm invited to sit in a panel, and I'm the last one being introduced, and they're going down, and I'll get PhD, ED, whatever, and I'm like, they get to me and I'm like, well, I'm Daniel Garza, I'm HIV, and everybody just bursted out laughing, and I was like, my experience is, at that point, it was like 15, so my experience is 15 years of living with HIV, being diagnosed with AIDS, and on the other chronic problems, and I assure you that at least 50% of the questions were towards me. The rest of the panel was kind of ignored because none of them had the experience in the topic. They cared for people.
Right.
They gave medicine to people, but I was the people.
Yeah.
So,
I completely agree with you. I want to kind of tie my own experience onto that, if you don't mind.
yeah.
I've experienced a lot of that too, career-wise, and not having credentials behind my name when in an environment like that. But something that I've recently, in the last few years, found extremely interesting is I don't even have an associate's degree, but I hold workshops for doctors and PhD level people that come to me for advice.
Yeah.
And I think that's so interesting, and it ties back into all of that, is that there's different levels to this game.
Yeah, I
This game called life.
hosted a podcasting workshop at an advocacy conference for people from around the world, and not to brag, but mine was one of the best.
Please brag.
Mine was voted one of the best, or the best workshop of the conference.
I'm sure it was.
Because it was very hands-on, and they're like, you know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So I don't want to put it out there, but I may not have the most rated podcast in the world, but I definitely know what I'm doing.
It is the best podcast.
But yes, here in Orange County, or at least in my house.
It's because it's real.
But yeah, but I know what I'm doing. I can tell people, like, I don't have the most sophisticated setup, but it sounds good, it works good, and people get the message out. So that's all that matters. Okay, so we're kind of getting to the point of the show where my guest offers some words of wisdom to the people listening. So, Austin Armstrong, what words of wisdom do you have for the listeners?
Take it day by day and keep trying to be a better version of you today than you were yesterday. And tomorrow be a better version of yourself. And keep progressing.
So now that you mentioned day by day, other than the typical breakfast, shower, get to work thing, what does an Austin day look like?
Well, I've been trying to wake up early, mostly unsuccessfully, but I've been trying to develop a morning ritual. That's my latest goal right now, is to develop that habit of creating a morning ritual. But until that's in place, normally what I do is I wake up. If I have enough time, I typically shower, do my essentials. I run out the door in a rush, get a cup of coffee if I don't have it there, because I always need my coffee in the morning.
Amen.
And I kind of jolt my day into a start. And I'd like to. That's why I want to develop the early morning thing, because I want to see if I can, better that situation a little bit. But basically, I wake up, I rush to work, and I chug as much caffeine as I possibly can, and I immediately get started. So I outline what I need, the tasks that I need to do for the day, different levels of urgency if something is like a longer term task, or if it's like daily social media posting or checking analytics or something like that, or developing strategy or meetings. I kind of outline all of that and just go through it.
Okay.
That's pretty. There's a lunch somewhere in there.
Somewhere in there. Since you do workshops? Because I know the day that I was at the office, you showed me a couple of YouTube tricks, which I've implemented. I don't remember exactly what they do, but I know that there's a reason for it, so I uploaded stuff and whatever. What is one, like for instance, somebody like me who has a YouTube page, has had it for a long time, but just can't get the traffic to me? What is one piece of advice that you can give us? And I wanted you to give away all her things, but this is for those of you listening,
This is what I love to talk about.
Yeah, for those of you listening, if you find this interesting, we're going to say where you can find him, and maybe he can come and do a whole presentation and stuff for people. So what's one thing that you could tell?
There are so many little things. Assuming that the content that you put out is amazing. Assuming that. If not, then focus on that. Assuming your content is amazing and it's not getting found by the right people, focus on search. I'll say that again. Focus on search. What that means is keyword research and keyword optimization. The specific words in the right order that people are searching for, and that you know that there is volume around that. And really, you should focus on keyword research before you even create that content. So there's a couple different ways of doing this. Probably the best way is to go into Google Keyword Planner. Google owns YouTube, if you don't know that, so they work off of the same search index. But you can go to you can create an entirely free account in Google AdWords. So you can go to adwords.google.com. It'll take you through some basic sign-up stuff. There's a tool icon. It looks like a wrench in the upper right-hand corner. You're going to click that, and then you're going to click on Keyword Planner. What you're going to do in there is type in loosely whatever your industry or whatever your particular video is on. So if it's on conquering addiction, overcoming addiction, you'll start with that. You'll put in overcoming addiction. What this tool does is it shows you related keyword search terms around this and the search volume, so the amount of searches on a monthly basis that people are looking for. So you can come up with content ideas around that. So how to overcome addiction, how to overcome alcoholism, how to overcome crystal meth addiction, how to et cetera, et cetera. And you can develop a content strategy around that. And then what you want to do is take that data and create a title, a really thought out description, and then include that in the tags as well. So you're optimizing around search. You're creating content and optimizing it around what you know that people are searching for.
Cool. That's the one that you told me. And then once I downloaded it, then I forgot why I had to use it.
There's a lot of different tools. That's just one example.
But I'm going to go back now and use it more and re-tag some of my videos. But that for everybody, that was something he told me there, and I was like, oh, I get it. Of course, I got home, and after a cup of coffee and a nap, I was like, why am I doing this? Okay, well, let's just do it anyway. But yes, when your Google pops up, it gives you all these on the right-hand side.
Well, think about it. When you go to YouTube, is the number 2 search engine in the world. When you go to YouTube or even to Google to look for something, you're typing something specific in, right? You're not typing in someone's name unless they're very well known. If they're not that well known, nobody's going to know. Right now, if you type in Austin Armstrong, there's a million Austin Armstrongs.
Yes.
Maybe down the road, I'll be the Austin Armstrong. But if you type in, if you title this video "Interview with Austin Armstrong," it's not going to get any search results because nobody's looking for me or an interview with me. But if you title it around some of the topics that we discussed in here, interview about overcoming addiction. The keyword there is overcoming addiction. That's what people are searching for.
Got it. That makes sense. Again, I have a lot of homework to do because I haven't uploaded videos. But for those of you watching and you have a YouTube page, and I get frustrated because I'm like, I know I have good content, context. I know people will enjoy these videos. They're just not finding them. They're not subscribing. And then I watch all these other videos from all these other people, and I'm like, your stuff is boring. How do you have 100,000 people watching?
There's a million different things that go in it, but that is a surefire way to, over time.
And I know that there's those random things where you like sign up for something and they find you people, or they
there's
robotics
a
or
little crap,
but I'm like,
yeah.
I want legit people. I want people. Make me famous, people.
You will.
Now,
consistency is another great tip.
Now, we're down to about the last 15 minutes.
Okay.
We talked about watching parents seeing their kids through addiction. I'm going to go back to the addiction part.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing them through addiction and how there's a fine line between enabling and helping.
Right.
How does that affect a sibling?
In my case, it's sad to say, but it's become a talking point between my mother and I that's recurring. That it's, how's she doing today? Well, I haven't heard from her. Yeah. And it's always a negative story. But my mom and I have sort of that type of bond between how's my sister doing. So that has directly impacted our relationship, is how is my sister doing, rather than any other thing.
How's the day? Is it raining?
Right.
Yeah.
It's how's my sister doing. And it's because we both care and we want to see her do better, but it's never a positive sign.
Now, the intention is not to put words in any way, but just my curiosity, because I was an addict, and then I lived through it, and I've never really talked to my sisters about this, but I know they knew, and I know my parents knew, and I've always wondered, is there resentment? Is there a little bit of anger?
I think there was for a long time. There's not anymore. I think mostly because, if this is what you're asking.
Yeah.
No, not anymore. When they're, and that comes from education, working in the industry, getting to talk to professionals on a daily basis,
right?
And surrounding myself with this to better understand the situation. And that was a big part of why I was depressed, or whatever you want to call it. There was resentment towards my sister for going in my room and stealing my things to sell them for drugs. There was resentment towards my father for, in my opinion, planting the seed for all of this. There was resentment towards my mom because she was the only person around me to take it out on, and she became strict on me because she didn't want to see me fall down the same path. And when you're a teenager and you're not fully, there, you don't want to experience all of this stuff, and it really weighs down on you. But you have to go through these experiences and come to a point of realization and make a choice. And make a choice how you want to live your life. If you want to live your life with resentment and anger, or if you want to forgive and let that weight lift off of you. So through meditation and through continually bettering myself, I have let go of any resentment towards those three people that I just mentioned, and have a much better level of understanding of where everyone is coming from, and my own reactions as well.
You are so mature for your age.
Oh, thanks.
You have such a way of explaining things and saying things. It really impresses me.
Thank you.
You're so, for lack of, put together. How do you unwind?
About 9 years ago, I found Muay Thai. So that was been a great outlet for me. Muay Thai is a form of kickboxing from Thailand, so martial arts.
Got it.
So I've been doing that for 9 years. I used to compete. I was an amateur fighter for a little bit.
Wow.
So that was a great way to get anger out and learn a lot of respect as well. If you're going through something, if you're going through anger issues, check out martial arts.
I go through a cake, but
Yeah.
to each his own.
To each their own. To each their own.
Yeah.
So that is something I still love to do. I love to help train other people and get in there and spar. Put on the headgear, put on the gloves, put on the knee pads, and just beat the hell out of each other.
And that's pretty awesome. All those Asian arts are so grounding, because when I was a teen and going through my whole identity crisis, we did Tai Chi back in Mexico.
Oh, cool.
And my nephews and I would go to classes. And
You still practice?
No, that was a long time ago. But
Okay.
you go through the movements, and they're so calculated, and it's so beautiful to watch, but you have to really be in your head, but have a clear mind to be able to put it out there, and yeah. So I danced too when I was a kid.
Oh, cool.
I danced all the way
Okay.
through grade school, junior high, and high school. So that for me was my outlet.
Gotcha.
I go and pound, because I did Mexican folklore dancing, so it's a lot of stomping. That will definitely get your anger out. So
yeah, that and the last 2 years, I found this amazing, crazy instrument called the steel tongue drum.
yes, I wish you had brought it. That would have been so
in my
awesome.
car.
It's in your car?
Yeah.
We might have to do you
can try it.
We'll do an outside
You want me
video.
to bring it up?
When we go to dinner,
Okay. All right.
after dinner, we'll do a short little live video.
Okay.
So for those of you watching, there'll be a live version of this. Because you do your live videos, right? Mm-hmm. Because I've caught your videos at times, and then oddly enough, I saw other videos of other people doing it. I'm like, oh my god, like
It's a pretty crazy instrument. It's only been around for 15 years, so it's in its infancy, and it was spawned in Russia. So nobody even knows what it is here. Nobody knows what it is.
Because
so
I
beautiful.
thought it was Caribbean. What is it?
Well, can I give you a little history?
Yeah.
Can we go into this? So how I found it is through stumbling across. When we went to Pokey, we kind of talked about this, but searching for relaxing music on YouTube.
Okay.
I don't know if you remember that specific point, selective memory. But through searching for peaceful, relaxing music, because I like to listen to music while I work to help me zone in, I stumbled across this instrument called a handpan. What a handpan is an enclosed Jamaican drum. So if you know the Jamaican drums, they're like a bowl that has the indents on each side of them, and when you hit them, they make a certain different tone.
It used a lot in like calypso music.
Right. What a handpan is enclosed. So it's the same bass, but it's enclosed. So it makes a much deeper, more resonant sound.
Yeah.
There was only one company, Panart, that made them for a long time. I think it's only been 15 years for the hang drum. For the hang drum is the original, or Panart hang, which spawned into the hand pan. So there were a couple other competitors that started creating this because there was a want for it. They're incredibly expensive because there's a want for them, and they're very difficult to produce because you're beating the hell out of steel and tuning it. They're still extremely expensive. So out of the want of that came this instrument called a steel tongue drum, which is the same concept, but with slits carved into the metal, and it's an easier process to make than a handpan, so it's a much cheaper alternative option. So wooden tongue drums have been around for hundreds or thousands of years.
Okay.
But the steel tongue drum, which was originally created from two propane tanks that were welded together and then carved slits in them, and then the tongues or the slits are weighted differently to resonate different tones, was created in they just kept doing it and getting better and better. And there's a lot of different companies that specifically make steel tongue drums now. So that's a brief little history lesson of the instrument.
So for those of you, again, listening and watching...
I'm obsessed. I'm
fascinated. Yeah, no, because you are pretty good at it. I mean, I'll be honest, I don't have a whole lot to compare it with. So you might suck, and I have no clue. But no, you're good.
I like it.
I've seen other videos lately, and I'm like, what are they doing? Like, what are they doing? But I will find his videos on his page, and then I will post them on my page so you guys can find them. It's a different music. It's definitely different. But if you're into meditating music, if you're into
a lot of people use it for sound healing. They use it with crystal
sound
bowls.
healing. That's what I was saying, because I listen to sound healing, and I just got chills for some reason. You have to come up here before you leave, and we'll do a little session if you have time, because I'm getting hungry. And
we'll go get some tacos.
But it is so. It's a mind journey that if you are familiar with sound waves and meditating music, and for those of you listening, it's not like Anya or Johnny music. This is like, there is this music that you can find on YouTube and on some apps that is sound frequencies that go into your brain and
binaural beats.
Yeah, thank you, and help you stimulate certain things. Yeah. And you can stimulate everything from your creativity to your mood to your sex moments. I mean, it is it's pretty amazing. So I use those when I sleep. I use that a lot when I was going through cancer treatment.
Oh, interesting.
To help stimulate my cells.
Wow.
To regenerate better. Yeah.
Wow.
So one of the reasons that I think I healed as well as I did is because of all the sound meditation that I did.
That's amazing.
So yeah.
Yeah, I really believe in it. Yeah. Crystal bowls, steel bowls, gongs.
So,
sound healing is a real thing. It's amazing.
For those of you, again, watching or listening, I will post some of the links to some of my favorite artists that post music, healing music, and then we'll put Austin's page so you guys can follow. I think you're doing a great job with it.
And I like it. It's just another outlet.
I would love at some point to do like a collaboration between your music and my meditation guidance.
Oh, I would love to.
Do some guided meditations and do some readings or some Reiki work on people with your music in the background.
After that, we'll talk about more of that, because I actually have a separate channel for the drum that I do some stuff like that. So I think that would overlap really well.
Well, so there you go, guys. Next thing you know, we'll be putting out flyers for the Armstrong Garza meditation hour.
I love it.
We're going to charge all the money, so you better save your pennies. Any last words before we go?
No, thank you so much for having me on. It was a great experience. It was amazing to have you on previously as well, and it was a good experience for me to kind of share some of this stuff. So
good. I'm glad.
I appreciate it, and hopefully it's helpful to people online.
Tell them where they can find you, information.
Yeah. We kind of touched on it a little earlier. LinkedIn is my favorite social media platform of choice, so you can find me, Austin Armstrong. I'm on every social media platform, so you can find me on YouTube. If you want to see some of the videos, you can type in Therapy Cable. I'm in a lot of stuff there, as well as Beginnings Treatment Centers.
And when does Sober Grind?
Sober Grind is live every Tuesday at 12 p.m. PST, and we go live for about 30 minutes. We stream live on both the Beginnings Treatment Center's Facebook page and the Beginnings Treatment YouTube channel as well.
Okay. And what was those web pages?
Facebook.com/beginningsoc, I believe. Or you can just type in Beginnings Treatment Centers. And then youtube.com/Beginnings Treatment Centers.
Cool. And again, we'll post all these on the page along with it so you guys can find them. And usually on YouTube, you can find all the links, all the information, because that's the easiest platform to put everything on there. So go make sure you go check those out. Austin, thank you so much for coming to the house.
Thank you,
and being
Daniel.
on the show. I really appreciate it. Not to mention the fact that I've been stalking you for a while. So that kind of goes. Again, I think I just wear people down, and they're like, okay, fine, just to get this Mexican off my ass, let's go do it. I want to thank again my producer, Mr. Kevin Moyers, for all his help and support. Thank you, sir. Inviting you, all of you, to check us out at abnormalentertainment.com, where you can find all the shows on the network. Check me out on Facebook at Put It Together Podcast, Daniel G. Garza, or you can find me on Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter, where you can also see information and things on my guests. For now, I want to thank Austin for being on the show. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
For everybody out there, this is Daniel G. Garza saying, hey, put it together.
This is how I put it together.
This is how I put it together.
This is how I put it together.
Subscribe to Put It Together on iTunes, Stitcher, and at abnormalentertainment.com/putittogether. Find Put It Together on Facebook and tweet Daniel at Lil Messican, LILMESICAN. And for more podcasts, comics, books, movies, and more, head to abnormalentertainment.com.
You've been listening to the Abnormal Entertainment Network.